Welcome back to Gooner Fanzine TV on what has been a desperately disappointing night for Arsenal, who are out of the Europa League after losing 2-1 to Olympiakos here, going out on away goals after a 2-2 aggregate score. Here with Serge and Layth to reflect on, as I say, a disappointing evening. Guys, what are your thoughts?
So, I said in the podcast I was so keen on the scenic route to Champions League football. I was
Turn the engine off, you're not going anywhere.
No, I thought, anything in Europe would be great. I was sitting there, got there to the stadium an hour and a half before kick-off to meet you guys, then went in a few beers whilst watching the end of the Wolves-Espanyol game. I thought...
Wolves are through them.
Wolves played a great game, Espanyol were terrible, but...
They won 3-2, but
we were bloody dreadful.
Shocking.
First half I was on the lower tier. The second half I went up to sit with Grumpy Glenn.
That was a joy.
And
How was Glenn?
Weirdly positive about Ozil. Genuinely negative about the entire performance.
Oh, yeah.
So,
what was his line? What was his best line of the night?
Arsenal were more pedestrian than a travelator in a shopping market. So,
oh, Glenn.
It was the most pedestrian performance I've ever seen. Look, you've been watching Arsenal for 40 years. I've been watching Arsenal for 15, 20 years. You've been watching Arsenal for 5 to 10 years.
A bit longer than that, maybe. Cheers.
Well, you're a young man, Dave. You're a young man. I've seen Arsenal lose on.
You're 14. You just have a really prodigious beard.
I've seen Arsenal lose in European games on many occasions.
Yes.
And a lot of times you go, you know what, the other team were better. That's fair enough. I can't really complain. Today, we came in with the headset of we were already through, and we weren't. Yeah. And Olympiakos, to be fair to them, set up really well.
Yep.
They were defensively stout. They looked the part. Yep. Every time we put a cross in, they're there, 4 defenders in the line, stopping everything that was going in. They looked the better side, and we deserved to go out. And it's so sad to say it because we were so confident. That 4-0 against Newcastle, that 3-2 rally against Everton, and then suddenly you capitulate 2-1 to Olympiakos on a cold, blistery Thursday evening. You sort of it really does take the wind out of your sails.
Yeah.
It was such a sad day.
Yeah.
Real sad day.
Absolutely, yeah. I was still looking at some stats before to go. I know Dan's our stats man normally, but
sorry.
What was it? I think Arsenal. The 17 previous ties, European ties, two-legged European ties, when they'd won the first leg away, they'd gone through. So to win 1-0 in Greece, so you'd think they'd done the hard work, hadn't you? And
that was the tough part of the tie.
Don't be complacent. Just see out the tie, basically. See out the game, and you're through. And just didn't happen, did it? They did. Arteta himself said he didn't. Arsenal didn't play well for the first 20 minutes. We could see all that. We could all see that. Yeah, it was far longer.
Add 100.
It was far longer than that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely. It was just bitterly disappointing. And what makes it worse as well is the fact that Aubameyang scored such a brilliant goal.
Yeah.
And that should have been the epitaph for tonight. That should have been the thing that everyone talks about.
I mean, can you imagine?
And it's just a footnote now.
Can you imagine the difference that our player ratings, our press conference?
I mean, they wouldn't have been much different, Serge.
Well,
can you imagine if we'd won that game with that being the winning goal?
Seriously, yeah.
I was jubilant in my seat. Everyone around us was going absolutely doolally.
Yeah, it was just such a great atmosphere as well.
But people just turn their heads down and then just switch off for a minute.
Yeah.
So when the defenders brought the ball back to Leno, that was obviously a poor decision, but Leno kind of just stood there, didn't really know what to do, and then ended up putting him for a corner.
Yeah,
we'll come on to that. We'll come on to that because I want to go through a few key points in the game and get your opinion. So in the first half, Nicolas Pepe running through gets brought down. Did you think it should have been a red card? Because I personally thought possibly.
There was a flash of he's got to be sent off for that, but you're never going to get that. You're never going to get that.
But where's VAR in this?
Yeah, well, it's different rules for...
We're supposed to have VAR, we're sitting there at the beginning of the game before kick-off, and they had a big notice on the screen about what VAR was, where it was used, what moments it was used in, describing it to us perfectly. You go to the toilet, it's got the posters up saying...
They've got posters in the toilet?
Explaining how VAR is used.
Oh, that is amazing.
And then...
Shame VAR's not.
Yeah, and then suddenly you get a moment where you think to yourself, right, well, this should be reviewed.
Yeah.
No, it's not reviewed.
I know.
There's not a notice, not anything.
I know. I'd like to know the ins and outs of it. I really just switch off of VAR these days. I really don't...
Well, it says there are 4 points.
But yeah.
Goals, penalties, mistaken identity, and red cards.
So there wasn't... Yeah, well, I suppose you could... it was...
I think the only thing that maybe worked in Olympiakos' favour was that the rule on committing a foul when it's the last man they're going through on goal is now that if you make an attempt to win the ball, it shouldn't be a red card. And I think it obviously was a clear attempt to win the ball, which clearly worked in his favour. But come on, if Pepe was going to run through and score, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
well, Lazaro got the red card for Everton when he...
I mean, yeah, but he clearly wasn't going for the ball, was he?
No, exactly. But I think VAR needs to have a real good look at itself.
Yeah, there's too many... Yeah, too many grey areas.
Obviously, blaming VAR, it's it's not the case. We were poor.
Yeah.
Dreadfully so. In the first half, we looked so pedestrian. The first half, I mean, you must have been sitting there in the press box going, I don't really know what to say.
Yeah,
what do I write?
It was an underwhelming performance,
I mean,
wasn't it? And Arteta said it was 4 games in 11 days, and they did look a bit tired. Saka, who I love, looked a bit tired. There was a few of them who looked tired tonight, and that obviously took his toll. But I really thought Arsenal would have had enough to get through, and they didn't, and it was just so gutting.
Yeah, but
really
you worked 4 days in 11. You've worked 4 jobs in 11 days. I mean, I know
11 jobs in 4 days.
I know what we do is very different, but they're professional, qualified athletes. They should be able to formulate a response to a well-set Olympiakos team. They shouldn't. I mean, we've played Olympiakos 11 times now? 12 times? 12 times I could in tonight. 12 times we played them.
I think it's 6 wins. It's 4 wins each and 4 draws or something.
So
which still haven't.
I've historically watched Olympiakos a huge amount because when I used to manage a pub in Nottingham, we had Nova Sports instead of Sky.
Right. Okay.
So every day I watched Panathinaikos, Olympiakos. Or AEK Athens.
Really?
So I've watched a lot of them throughout the years because obviously that was the only things that they were ever shown on Nova Sports. But they're not a team that's difficult to work out. They were playing a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
They just had 2 massive centre backs.
Yeah, they did.
We'll come on to the massive centre back in a second.
But they had a really well drilled defensive line. It wasn't something that was like mystique football. It was very classic 4-4-2.
Yeah, and they just set out well and defended well, and we couldn't break them down.
Why were we constantly putting crosses in, knowing
there's 2 big units in the box?
What's the point?
Well, let's come on to the big centre half you mentioned. Obviously, Pape Abu Cisse was the man who opened up the tie, put Olympiakos ahead on the night. Obviously, turned out to be a crucial goal. Why, when you've got a centre half, when I've googled this, is 6'6", would you not mark him?
Yeah, he's basically the same height as me on your shoulders. Like he's a big.
You probably would have put it wide. To be fair.
But I mean, that once again goes to our defensive frailties. You know, we switched off that game. We didn't come in with the right mindset. I don't know. Arteta is going to be absolutely fuming, and he will eviscerate that squad verbally. Because they should have done better.
Yeah,
you know, Mustafi was obviously, in my opinion, I think Dan rated him too, was our man of the match.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah,
performances. Even though Aubameyang scored a wonderful overhead, Mustafi was brilliant throughout the 120.
Yeah, I think he had to go for cramp, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think as soon as he went off, we were much worse for the wear.
Yeah, it's just.
And I think Olympiakos having such a solid defensive lineup, they knew exactly where our danger was going to come from, and it was going to come from the wings. It was going to come from Saka crossing or Pepe crossing, and they knew instinctively how to cut it out entirely. And they made our game basically so neutral because with Aubameyang dropping back to put Lacazette in front, it didn't work. And the fact Lacazette was so totally and utterly useless today.
I don't know why Arteta didn't take off Lacazette far earlier than he did for Martinelli.
Half time was at the latest he should have come.
Well, I said this in the player ratings. I think he maybe had penalties in mind. I mean, Lacazette probably would have been one of the first names to take one.
Surely you got
enough
big players.
Got to bag Martinelli to just go for a penalty because also Martinelli's so young, he doesn't care about the stress.
Exactly, the fearlessness of youth. He would have gone for it. You know.
Right, we're going to play a little game I like to call the blame game. Who was at fault for Olympiakos' winner that obviously ended up dumping Arsenal out the Europa League?
For me, Leno.
Leno shouldn't have done.
Leno should have gone straight, got the ball, rose there. Don't even think. Don't be clever. Don't be smart. Obviously, the defender giving to him is a bit unfortunate, but you get the ball, you're like, oh, there's 2 coming at me. Get rid. Just get rid. You know, we've got a former goalkeeper of high standards.
The flying potato, as he's known.
If you got the ball, you would have gone, I don't want this. Rid.
Have it.
Put your foot through it. Have it. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Bobby Zamora rose-ed that.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to blame people, but you know, Leno will be really disappointed. Yeah, that's a terrible thing to say because it's such a cliche. But yeah, I don't want to criticise him because he has, for me, been player of the season for Arsenal. But
do you not think Martinez should have played? Martinez should have played instead.
I think it's good that Arteta played the strongest side.
Yeah, I agree.
But I suppose you could argue now I was taking it out of them because they played under 20 minutes. But at the start of the game, I was like, great, they played a really strong side. Let's go for it and get through. And it didn't come off. But I'm glad Leno played. I'd rather have Leno than Martinelli. Although Martinelli did play. Martinez. So I'm going mad. Martinez.
Or Matt Macy, as Toby would say.
The throwback.
Emi played well at the start of the season. He had some good games in Europe, and you could argue he deserved his place in the Europa League. But at the same time, I want to obviously the strongest side for
Yeah.
most games, and this is one of the games that I was glad he played a strong side. But I suppose the worrying thing is the strongest side didn't get through. So what does that mean?
Well, much like you, I mean, I was sitting there, I think the team sheets came out early today for us.
They always do for the Europa League
Yeah,
games.
so
You wait for post them before anyone else.
Yeah.
Basically,
I was there sort of like 10 to, just having my pre-match snack, and during watching the Wolves game, I saw the team sheet. I was like, wow, this is an incredibly strong side. This is
I was quite surprised, to be fair.
strong.
Yeah.
I thought he would sort of leave maybe Aubameyang or Lacko and put Martinelli in, maybe put sort of Nketiah in.
Yeah.
I thought he'd probably put Martinez, not Leno, and he started with that side. I was like, wow, that shows real intent.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously reading his programme explains what he thought, but it didn't really work.
No, it didn't. It's a real
I think
shame.
there are some times where just because you've got a strong 11 doesn't mean you have to always play them.
Oh, I don't know. I'm glad he did.
Well, say
I'm
for
glad he
example,
did.
if you look at Liverpool the other day, they played their strongest 11 and it wasn't a good performance.
But-
was it?
they've been playing their under 23.
Liverpool's 13 beat us, didn't they?
Yeah, well.
You know. But I'm glad. I'm not going to knock him for playing a strong side. Didn't work out. You know, and I suppose you could argue further on in the season they're going to be tired for it. But what have they done this season? You know, we're the 9th. It's like, you know, why are we resting them? They just play your strongest side, get on with it, and we'll move on. And Arteta said that as well. So.
There was it was a quite interesting bit in Arteta's programme notes where he talked about the team selection. He said, I basically picked the team on how they do in training, the workload they've had, and, you know, who's performing on the pitch. And I think maybe the one thing he didn't take into consideration was possibly the workload. There's not been many changes, obviously a lot of games in the past.
We've got a young team.
I don't mind. He said those quotes at Colney the other day, and I was there for him, and I don't mind that. I want a strong, settled side.
Yeah.
You know, and if you win every week, you're going to be a bit more, you know, up for it, basically. I know you could argue they're tired, but no, play your strongest, settled side every week, so everyone knows what they're doing, everyone's used to those positions, and kick on. And if they genuinely do look tired, like Saka, maybe you could argue, well, Saka won't play on Monday, certainly, and maybe he'll have a rest
Who's going to play there then?
Well, we'll see, and exactly, that's out.
Well, it's like
Good question. Xhaka could play left back. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, Aubameyang's miss. I mean,
at that point, I think I was already sort of resigned to the fact that the great escape wasn't happening. You know, because we got the goal, and that was cock a hoop for, and Little Stanley, who we mentioned on the podcast, he was going absolutely mental, like a proper little gooner. It was absolutely wonderful to see.
Good lad.
And me and Glenn were sitting there. Glenn, obviously, with his half glass full.
What did Glenn say after?
He went, if they get one, we've got to get two because the away goals. This is not an easy game.
Yeah.
And to be fair to him, Glenn was totally spot on.
Yeah.
Glenn was right. He was standing there in his NYPD hat. He was enjoying the game up until that point, and he went, look.
I thought you said Glenn was doing that.
No. Glenn was not a happy man.
No.
And,
what was his reaction after Aubameyang's miss, though?
He just was shell-shocked, really.
Yeah.
I think all of us were shell-shocked.
Yeah.
We couldn't really believe it because we were sort of so hyped up with the goal he'd scored, then so distraught with the goal that we conceded.
Yeah.
And then we thought, the return's happening, and we saw the miss, and I think we were much like Aubameyang himself, just crumpled there, going, I can't believe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the worst thing is now, and I'm not being a harbinger of doom, but without Europe next season, Aubameyang's gone in the summer.
well,
that's a podcast in itself. Isn't it, really?
I mean, I don't think we've got time for that this evening. So we'll leave it.
Can I just say, I've been quoting Greek philosophers all night, as is my want.
I wondered what you were doing.
I did a tweet just a while ago of a picture of Aubameyang's celebrations, and Socrates is one of my favourite philosophers.
Not centre half.
There was a line for a minute. It just summed up for tonight, basically, and it just said, "The only thing I know is that I know nothing." Basically, so
there you go. Well, that's it from the scene of Arsenal's Greek tragedy as Olympiakos dumped them out of the Europa League. We should probably stop laughing. Desperately disappointing night, as we say, but make sure to watch the player ratings and the view from the press box that myself and Layth filmed earlier. That's it here from the Emirates on a frustrating and upsetting evening. Make sure to like, share and subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.
See you Monday.
Cheers.